we're living paycheck to paycheck because I'm working in retail. I was pushing carts at a hardware store. In 2 years, I had over 100,000 subscribers, over 10 million views. And as of today, I'm at over 300,000 subscribers and over 30 million views.
Welcome back, everyone. Rob here with the Spitting Fire Podcast. And listen, I got a treat for all of you today. I have YouTube coach and speaker and expert, Mr. Collin Michael, all the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Collin, will you say what's up to everyone real quickly?
Yo, what's up? Excited to be here.
Yeah, I know, Collin, you're going to spit some serious fire today, and I'm so excited for you being on the podcast. But before we dive into what we call here in Mississippi the meat and taters, I just want to tell you, I interview leaders and entrepreneurs that are passionate about pursuing their purpose, because I'm praying that every time I interview people like Collin, that something that we talk about will inspire you to chase your God-sized dream. And I believe God has put a dream in everyone's heart, and that he wants us to live on purpose so we can make a difference in this world. So Collin, thank you once again for coming on the podcast. And as we were talking off air here, I was just, telling you that I've been following you for a couple of years and just really love your authenticity and just the value that bring to the table. So can we go back just a little bit and you give us a 30,000 foot view of your story? Like, how did you get started in YouTube? What did you do before YouTube? And just a little bit of that journey along the way.
Yeah, so originally started YouTube back in 2014. I think I was like 17. Mom officially allowed me to get access to the internet, a YouTube channel and everything, because I was becoming 18. Like the first thing was like, create a YouTube channel. I wanted to pursue this. And with that, I actually originally started a theology channel around the Bible.
Okay.
That's where I originally started, and I did that for a few years. And that was kind of like on and off, but like I was still kind of messing around with like, a camera and stuff. Really bad videos, but they still went up. And then like, and this kind of ties in with the story too. Like career-wise, like I'd always been retail, like a cashier or something like that. Didn't go to college or anything like that. And kind of just continued on with that. I eventually ended up in assembly at like a warehouse. And there is where things started kind of, I guess, like changing in my head, because I kind of caught on to the fact that I'm just a number there. Like one second they're gonna like, if I disappear, like they'll replace me in like 2 days with someone else. And like, I was like, I have no skills. I have nothing to offer. Like everything can disappear just like that. And I lose all my income and I have no skills that can go with me.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to make some kind of adjustment. I need to build some kind of skills here. And so I actually quit that job. And I was still living with my parents, so I could do that. So I quit that, and I was like, I'm going to become a coder. I'm going to pursue this. This is, websites. This is going to be the future. Discovered discipline. It was not something I had because I just played video games the whole time. And so, but then also around that time too is when I started my main YouTube channel. I was like, monetizing a religious channel, things can get iffy there. So I was like, you know what? We're going to start a separate channel. And I was already interested in cameras from doing the whole YouTube thing. So I was like, I'll teach people maybe camera stuff with a mobile phone.
Sure.
And I started kind of pursuing that a bit on the side. The coding thing flopped, got back into retail, and then was doing the YouTube channel on and off. And ultimately, the goal was to eventually be able to make money from it and kind of pursue that dream. But a lot of it was like I'd post videos, nothing would happen, give up. Post videos, nothing would happen, give up. And I remember the last time that happened was like 2019 of August. And I was like, I'm teaching people who are using their phone how to use free apps. Like, these people only want free stuff.
Right.
This is like the worst business ever if I'm just giving away free things. And so I was like, I can't make money from this. And so like I realized I needed to learn skills. But I just didn't know the whole monetization thing. And so, I left that, was exploring all these different side hustles and things. And then, along comes later down the road, like it's April of 2020. I'm off of work due to the pandemic, for a bit. And it was like, we're living paycheck to paycheck because I'm working in retail. I was pushing carts at a hardware store. Had gotten married late 2019, and had just found out my wife was going to have a baby. So it's like now I'm like in kind of panic mode where it's like I need to make additional income. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And so I'm thinking through all these things. Like I was like, I can do photography because I know cameras. Maybe I'll blow up balloons and I'll do birthday parties. I was even looking at like this, picking up trash at commercial properties so I could, and maybe monetize in that way. Like I was like, I need something. But in the back of my head, it was like, if I could just make an extra $500 a month, like doing something I love, and like I can actually help people, and that's like my part-time job alongside my full-time job, like this would be the greatest side hustle in the world, because I get to do something I love. I get to help people, and have that. So I decided to give it one more shot. I was like, if I can just make an extra $500, that covers diapers, that covers car repairs and all these other things. And so I committed to learning YouTube and trying to figure out how it worked and trying to, make everything go together. And within 6 months of that, I was making $500 a month from like the YouTube ads playing on the videos. In a year, I was making $2,000 a month from the ads. And like everything just took off from there. And like 2 years from that point of deciding I'm going to do this, I'm going to do everything in my power to learn this skill and make money from this. 2 years from that point, I was able to quit my job and go full time. I went full time, was that 2022 of May? So just passed over 2 years a couple of months ago. And been going at it ever since. And yeah, it's been wild. It's still weird working for myself and doing all these things, but it's been crazy.
So let's fast forward to today. I want to go back and dissect a few things you said there, 'cause I don't want the audience, whether they listen to this when this drops, or they watch this on YouTube. What's the numbers today? Like, can you give us how many people are subscribed to your channel, how many views that your channel as a whole, or maybe they get it daily or monthly, however you compute that?
Yeah. So starting like April of 2020, like the channel had like 2,000 subs, because I was posting on and off and quitting all that time. So I gained, somewhat of following there. So I had 2,000 subs there. In 2 years, I had over 100,000 subscribers, over 10 million views.
Wow.
And as of today, I'm at over 300,000 subscribers and over 30 million views.
Wow.
So it's just been this like steady climb up from that point. And then like even like because I'm not afraid to share numbers on the income side either. Like last year was the first year I've ever made six figures in my life.
Wow. Good for you, man.
And that was just mind blowing coming from like retail. Like I remember working the warehouse job, and I was doing overtime. Like I was working 60 to 70 hours, like sometimes 13 days in a row, 8 to 10 hours a day. And I remember getting the check. And I was like, whoa, I made $30,000 in a year. This is incredible. Like I made a lot of money this year. Like, that was my reality. And to be able to start something on the side and grow it and turn into something that has completely changed my life. And now being able to help others do the same, it's wild.
Yeah, that's incredible. Two things I want to go back to. First thing is, if you're watching this today, you're listening to this, don't miss it. You're one failure away from success, right? So many of us, and Collin, I'd love for you to speak to this, because you said, I made a commitment. I made a decision, which just literally means to cut off every other option, that I'm deciding to do this. But I think so many people, if you're watching this or listening today, they don't understand that failure is part of the success equation, right? You talked about, hey, I tried to do this, but I did it off and on. Then I went back to this and I did try to do this again. And you could have quit, and you probably thought a million times to quit in your whole journey. But what was it in you when you made that commitment? When you said, I'm deciding to do this? Was it a book you read? Was it just this inner feeling? Was it a podcast you listened to? Talk about that moment, because that was a really defining moment in your YouTube journey.
Yeah, I think what kind of pushed me. So there's been someone I've been fascinated with for the longest time, which is Thomas Edison. Mm-hmm. And I think some of his quotes really helped push me and keep me going even when I did want to give up.
Right.
I actually have a poster over here that I just haven't found a place to put it, at least in this studio here. But one of the things he would always say, like, I didn't find 10,000 ways. I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways to not make a light bulb.
Right.
Or other quotes from Thomas Edison is like, there are so many people who were close to success who gave up, just before they got it. And so like a lot of that and like his discipline to just keep going, keep trying and pushing through failure, motivated me a lot. And like you said, like you're one failure away. And especially when you look at like even some of the other bigger like business people like Amazon.
Sure.
Their whole business is about failing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's right.
They try to do a phone, they try to do this, that, and the other thing. All we see are just a few successes they have.
Yeah.
You figured out, selling books online worked. Like for me, it's something. It's going a little more detailed into that story. One of the things I saw was I looked at all my old videos on that channel when I had 2,000 subs in April 2020. I was looking at the old videos and I saw like, okay, there's a few videos that did pretty well on the channel here and a lot that didn't. But like, what did all these videos that did really well have in common? I made a lot of mistakes, but there's some successes here. What would happen if I just replicated what was working there? And so I kind of built off of that, but it did take the time and effort to actually go and put out that and throw some stuff out there and see what works and what didn't work, and then make adjustments. But yeah, I think it's hard. I think we're like almost taught like failure is a bad thing. I don't know with you, Rob, if that's was the case, but it's like failing's bad, getting Fs are bad. School teaches us that failing's bad, but I think you have to fail at a lot of things in order to find that one thing that works.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because we live in a culture that kind of projects that. And what happens is when you fail, we don't have the mental fortitude to come back, right? And that's the hard part. Like in businesses, I have failed so many times, and I'll be 50 years old next week, and I look back and go, how many times did I fail and I gave up, but just something still was burning in me. But when I finally made that decision to go after my dreams, right? When I said, man, this is what I'm made for, this is what I'm supposed to do, it was scary, right? I had to put some skin in the game, but it's been worth it. And as you well know, I love hearing that, man, because one of my greatest joys that I get in life is teaching people how to make six figures in what I do. And so to hear that journey, that just brings a lot of joy and encouragement. And listen, give some feedback below. If you're getting some value out of this already and you're being inspired by Collin's story, give us some comments below and let us know. Give us some love. Like the video, subscribe to the channel so that way you are notified every time we drop fresh content like this. Okay, other thing I wanted to focus on from the very beginning that you said, Collin, is I love the fact that you said I really was off and on. I wasn't consistent, in other words. And one of my favorite mentors from a distance, I call him the OG, John Maxwell. one of my favorite quotes by him is he says, consistency compounds. In other words, I think a lot of people never see success in whatever that journey is, YouTube, insurance, whatever it is. They never see true success because they don't make a decision to be consistent. And they don't realize that if they will just be consistent, and you know this, consistently bad for a season, right? Can I get a witness, everyone? Because we've all been there. And you were talking about your old bad, theology videos. If you weren't willing to be consistently bad for a season, it never would have compounded to what you are receiving today. Will you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, and I think where people get hung up too with that is they don't want to be bad. They want to skip to the part where it's easier. And so I think people will post a few videos, and this is a common problem with YouTube, and people want to become YouTubers. They're like, I want to do YouTube. So they post a few videos, they get no views, and they're putting hours of work into a video that doesn't get views. And then they give up because they're not getting that, instant result. I think, but at the same time, there's also the other side of it, where I've also seen people who've been consistent for years doing the exact same thing without the failure part or analysis, looking at, okay, is this good? Is this not? How do I improve? Where I've seen some channels where they have over 1,000 videos.
Sure.
And they're still doing the exact same thing. It's haven't you learned from any of the mistakes you've made?
Yeah.
How are we improving? How are we adapting and growing? So it's when you have both of those together, consistently failing, is the consistent way to success.
Yeah.
Because the greatest teacher of anything is going to be you actually doing the work. You can go to business school for 4 years, but when you come into the real world, into real business world, it's a dramatically different thing.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing actually how things operate, and you can go learn marketing, but until you actually implement marketing and experiment and A/B test and figure out actually how to entice the people you're trying to reach and your customers, it's the same thing with YouTube. You're not going to get better at, working a camera until you're in front of it. You're not going to get better speaking to the camera. And the thing with YouTube as well is there's so many skills you have to learn. You've got, being on camera, learn how to operate the camera, learn how to light your videos, which is a skill of itself, and setting up your studio and everything, scripting your videos potentially. You've got video editing. You've got optimizing the video.
Yeah.
There's so many different hats you have to wear. And so that takes a lot of consistently failing. And that it was difficult for me too. Through those years of there are a lot of times I did give up, and didn't push on. And looking back, I do regret not pushing forward and continuing to make videos and experimenting, because how much further would I have been if I continued to fail and try new things and try to figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So yeah. If that's you and you're listening to this, you have to embrace failure and be willing to continue to make mistakes and try different things for an extended period of time. And at the very least, you're going to learn a ton of skills and different things in the process, or you're going to get so good at perseverance to when you do decide to move on to the next thing, you're going to be able to go even longer at that. Because you're going to actually have some, I don't know what you want to call it, endurance or persistence to be able to go through that.
Yeah, but I love what you're teaching here. You may not even know that you're teaching it, but what I'm getting from this is a lot of people, they stay and live in regret, but what you've decided to do is to repurpose your regret to help others, right? So if you're watching this or listening to this today, he regrets not being consistent. He regrets throwing the towel, but now he has this YouTube channel that's inspiring people. He's repurposed that regret to help other people not give up, right? And so I love that. I think it's going to help so many people. To me, that's spitting some fire right there, my man, because so many people just allow regret to imprison them. But we have the opportunity to repurpose it to impact other people so they don't make the same mistakes that we made. And I heard Dabo Swinney, the coach of Clemson football team, he said this one time, and I don't know if it was his saying, but it's always stuck with me. And he said, we got to embrace the suck, right? In other words, if you want success, then you got to be willing to suck for a season in order to get to that success. And listen, all of us have been there. You know that, Collin. All of us have been there where you're like, man, that was really, really, really bad. But it takes us being self-aware. Like you talked about the 1,000 video channel. Like we got to have some self-awareness here to go, this is still sucking after 1,000 videos, right? And then we also got to be humble enough to invest in coaching, get in a tribe that can help us and hold us accountable. And I think so many people, they want the success part, but they don't want the accountability part. So real quickly, talk about what you've done to kind of hold yourself accountable, the people that maybe are in your circle that kind of speak into your life, encourage your life, and encourage you in your life, and then even willing to invest a little bit, right? Put some skin in the game to get better.
Yeah. So early on, I did end up in a group of other YouTubers who were all posting content. There was an app called Clubhouse that existed for a while where it was kind of like a networking app, and I met other YouTubers there, and we started like even just a group chat where we're able to like just talk and share ideas and videos we learn and, bounce thumbnails off each other to see like, hey, is this good? Is this bad? What do you think? And that was hugely helpful because now you're getting real feedback from people. They may not be your like exact ideal viewer, but it's still someone else kind of giving you some insight there.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh yeah, I see your point there. You can't even see my face in this thumbnail here. Let me make an adjustment. And then you can give that same feedback back. As far as like investing in yourself, like I think with whatever you start, if you can, especially if it is a side hustle, and you have that opportunity, I would invest everything you make into yourself and learn from people ahead of yourself. One of the first things I did when I started earning money from the channel, once I hit $200, I booked a YouTube consultant. I think it was Video Creators at the time, which they're now bought out by vidIQ, which is a YouTube growth tool. But like I immediately did that and had someone look at the channel and give me advice along the way. And then throughout the rest of the years, every time I have invested in myself, whether it's a course or coaching or an event or anything like that, it is always brought a return on investment because, if you're going to do something, learn from the top 1%. Like learn, one of my favorite authors, speakers is Brian Tracy.
Yeah.
And what he talks about is the law of cause and effect.
Sure.
Which is if you see an effect you want, you just need to figure out what caused that effect and repeat those steps for yourself. So it's like, if there is someone in a spot I want to be, whether it's a book author or a coach or something, if there's someone in a spot I want to be, and I can just learn the steps they took to get to where they got, and I repeat those steps, like you can achieve those exact same results. And so, yeah, I think if possible, taking the time to put effort into it. It doesn't even have to be, even if you don't have money to spend, like the library's free.
Yeah.
Like anyone can walk to the library and just sit in the library. Don't even have to rent, borrow the book, and they can read tons of business books. You can go to Barnes and Noble and learn from like the top business authors, and you don't even have to buy the book. You can just go in there, sit in there and read the books. They have no problem with that. Like, the information's out there. It's just a matter of, are you going to like hunt it down and not only just read it, because I think there is a problem where people get too caught up in just education and not action.
Yeah.
So learn the things that are going to be practical that you can use right now, and then take action on those things. 'Cause you don't want to get caught in, I guess you could call it edutainment.
Yeah.
Where it feels like it's education. And
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm listening to this book, or I'm reading this, or I'm going to this conference. But if you're not actually applying it, then, it's not, it's not as effective.
Yeah.
So you balance both of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a huge gap, right? I like to call it the acquiring phase, right? Acquiring the wisdom. And there's a big gap between the application of that wisdom for most people. This is what Collin's talking about, right? Some of us are stuck in acquiring. We want to acquire wisdom, but we're not even applying even like 1% of the wisdom. And so until we apply it, our lives will truly never change. You're just going to become obese on wisdom, right? You're going to get stuck in the acquiring phase. And the key is to transition over into the application phase. So I love that you're sharing that. And I truly believe this, that you're never going to earn more than what you believe you're worth. So if you're not even willing to invest in yourself, that really goes back to an identity issue. And if we can fix that identity issue and begin to speak into that, I promise you the income will be there, especially if you take that application step. And we've all been there, right? We've all been there, insecurity, doubts. We've all heard the circle or the family or whoever tell us you're not going to make it. That's crazy. Why would you chase after that dream? And it's just consistently willing to believe in that dream, right? I call it a God-sized dream. Everyone's heart, I believe everyone has that dream. And I just, no quit, that I'm committed to it and I'm willing to go after it no matter what. So I kind of want to transition a little bit to the second half of the interview today. And man, love what you're saying so far, brother. Like, you're spitting some fire. I think this is really going to inspire some people. But I truly believe we were all created to create, right? When we look in Genesis chapter 1, the first thing that's said about God is that he's a creator. And I believe all of us have an aspect of that creativity in us that he's put in us. And I believe one of the best ways to use that creativity is through the power of YouTube, right? This is what you're talking about. This is what you've learned and you've developed and you've become really good at it. And it's one of the most powerful ways to share your story. I believe all of us have a story. All of us have a mission. All of us have a purpose. All of us have a superpower, if you will. And so what I wanted to do, Collin, is talk a little bit about how you could help people begin to shape that, put that together, because you've probably seen this. The number one fear that I've seen with people, that I hear from people that say, hey, I don't want to go on YouTube, or I'm just too scared to make a video. And what if people make fun of me? And so what I want you to do is just talk a little bit about, what is it that you've seen in your journey as a coach, and even yourself, some of maybe those top fears that hold people back from just pushing the record button and just beginning to share what they have inside of them to the world.
Yeah, I think there's probably a few fears
Sure.
out there. One big one I see is perfectionism.
Okay.
Thinking it has to be perfect or it can't go out. I've seen people where they have the skill, like I've seen them have the skill, and they'll get caught up in, oh, this isn't the right idea, or I'm not, I don't know if I can do this properly, and then they just never take action at all because they can't get it done perfect. That kind of comes back a bit to that, you just need to go out and fail. Another thing I see, there is like camera shyness and things like that. And that also, like, again, the solution is to like fail.
Yeah.
And like, when I got on camera for the first time, like, if I was to like share those videos here, like, it would be, horrendous. Like the amount of mistakes in them. I was filming in my parents' basement, it was terrifying when I got started, and I was oblivious to it. But I think probably the biggest thing is set up ways where you can take action on it, and simplify it. Like, don't worry about the camera gear. Like, just pop out your phone and film a video. Like, you can go stand by a window for lighting, and you can just talk and record.
Yeah.
Like, if it's 30 seconds, okay, make it a short, upload it. If you can talk longer than that, you can make it a long form video. I think there's probably a lot of imaginary roadblocks when it comes to YouTube. You are going to have to stand outside your comfort zone. If your friends find your channel, there's a good chance they might mock it.
Yeah.
Because that also happened to me too.
Yeah.
But who's laughing now?
Yeah, that's right.
But it's like, you're going to have to put yourself out there. You're not going to grow in the comfort zone. You're not going to grow in the comfort zone. If you're in your little comfort bubble and you don't like change, and, you're not going to gain anything.
Sure.
You have to be willing to go outside of the comfort zone and be afraid of it and be scared. Like, even in some of the things I'm doing right now. I'm right now, I've done YouTube well, but I am still trying to learn a lot of the business side and aspects and those things. Like, some of that's really scary.
Yeah. And
it's like, I can get caught up in, like, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I'm going to go through all this work of, maybe building a product or service and it's not going to work.
Right.
I'm only going to grow if I get out there and I fail and I try different things and I try to learn what viewers want. Like, it's the exact same thing with YouTube. Like, I just have to get out there and figure it out. So, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's the only way you're going to actually see something change or get results.
Yeah, I love it. If I could just distill it down to this saying, and I've said it a million times, the comfort zone will always cripple your calling. See, some of you know you're called to do this, right? You're watching this video today and you go, I've been meaning to press record a billion times, and that perfectionism, that fear, that whatever, fill in the blank, is because you want to be comfortable, and you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable to see the success, right? We've all been in, no matter what industry you're in, this is what Collin is basically saying. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Collin. So let's get a little practical and granular here for just a second, okay? I see some people, and even myself, you want to emulate someone else and be them at the expense of you. Can you talk about the power of being authentic and genuine in your videos? Can we start there? Because I believe, and truth be told, full disclosure, I've even paid Collin to kind of coach me a little bit. And that's really what started him coming on the podcast, because I'm going, man, I want to learn what this guy has learned. But what really drew me to you, Collin, and we talked about this before we hit the record button, was I believe one of your greatest superpowers is your authenticity and your genuineness. Talk about that, because I think some people go, well, I'm too introverted, or I'm kind of nerdy, or whatever the case may be, right? And, nobody's going to listen to me. Talk about just learning how to really be comfortable in being you.
Yeah. I mean, well, first disclosure, I am introvert. I am very not social. And an interesting fact too, most YouTubers are introverts. So I'm actually going to go to a YouTube conference in a few weeks here, and I'm going to be around other introverts who don't want to start conversations.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, I guess, like, being authentic and getting on camera and, like, having that shine through, like, your authenticity is kind of what is going to draw people to your channel.
Yeah.
Like, people don't want you to be someone else.
Right.
Because that content creator already exists out there.
Yeah.
So I'd almost say, like, kind of like leaning into it is almost a better strategy. Because that's what people are going to connect with. Like, with, like, videos, like, people are going to grow to know and like and trust you. for them to return, like, it's not just like the information, you're giving. Part of it too is like who you are as a person. I think it'll probably take time for that to shine through a bit, because there is a lot of camera fear, and like being able to let that out.
Sure.
Something I would encourage people to do, like, even if you want, just start recording videos for YouTube, but you're not going to post them. Like, you don't even have to post the videos yet. Like, you're still practicing the skill. Like, you're going to still improve. You're going to still learn how to speak on camera, but you can, like, even, then it's a little bit lower pressure, because, it's not going to necessarily get posted anywhere, but you can click record, and you can practice talking to the camera, practice treating it like you're talking to a friend or you're talking to another person. You can even just say to the camera, "Hey friend," so like, or you put your friend's name there. I could be like, "Hey Rob, so today I was doing this," and I can go through and just have a conversation with Rob. I'm just looking at the camera and I'm just pretending I'm just talking to Rob, and that's going to allow me to potentially let more of that out and get kind of more comfortable. But you definitely want to have that try to shine through as much as possible, because that is what's going to ultimately draw people to your channel and help you build that following.
Yeah, and there's so many YouTube videos out there. Like I've watched plenty of them, and you hear about these YouTube myths and do's and don'ts, like the algorithm hates me if I do this, or titles, thumbnails, hashtags, tags. You hear all these different sources. Just to really, once again, distill it down, can you give us like 3, maybe 5 at the most YouTube tips, right? Like if somebody was starting, yes, practice. Like you said, that's a great tip, by the way. Just practice. You don't have to post it, but just start practicing. But if they did begin to post those videos, what's the next step? Do they got to worry about editing? Do they got to worry about thumbnails? Do they got to worry about titles? They got to worry about descriptions? You could just get so overwhelmed. For the beginner, what are 3 to 5 things that they really need to concentrate on in the beginning until they can master those and then begin to expand?
Yeah, so I think a few tips that would be good for beginners. Probably one to start would be to just get the bad content out. Like,
that's good.
Your first 100 videos are going to suck. They will. Like, you can go back on my channel and watch my old videos, and you'll be like, like this guy's not good content. And the only way you're going to get there is by posting and trying to improve 1% with each video. So instead of thinking about like all of these different things you have to worry about, just find one way to improve with each video. Maybe that is related to editing, where it's like, maybe I could add some more engaging stuff here. Or maybe you notice, hey, I ranted for a really long time on like one thing I was saying in my video. Maybe next time I can be a little more aware to, keep my thoughts more concise. Or maybe this time I'm actually going to make a thumbnail. And then, that text really blends in with the background here. Maybe I can adjust that on the next video. Like, just taking those baby steps of just finding the one way to improve, or if you're feeling really, I don't know what word I'm looking for, like energetic, find 2 things to improve on. I think that's going to really help carry your channel further. At the end of the day, YouTube is all about the viewer.
Yeah.
Viewers come to YouTube to watch content. They're interested in different topics, and YouTube is just trying to figure out, okay, what video do we think this viewer wants to watch next? And it gets that information based on like, just viewer interest mainly, and then looks at your video and tries to figure out, do we think viewers will click on this and watch this? So if you really want to get good at YouTube, try to figure out who are you serving. And what are their interests? What questions do they ask? Because the more you know your viewer, the more likely you're going to make a video where to be like, oh my word, I want to watch this video. This is exactly what I'm looking for. That's going to cause them to click. There's videos with no thumbnails out there. They aren't optimizing their descriptors, not doing all the best practices, but because they're making videos that appeal to the audience that they're trying to reach, they'll perform well. Because, that title or topic choice they came up with really resonates with the viewer, or, makes them curious and want to click. So I think as long as you focus on those things, thinking about the viewer, and then just get started posting content, you'll learn the rest of this stuff. But those are all going to be those step-by-step things you're going to learn over time. And eventually you're going to have this whole stack of things that you're going to know how to do. But you have to take that first step.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I want to camp out here just for a couple of minutes. That's really hard to overcome, or at least it was for me, because you think you have all these great video ideas and that your audience wants to hear all these great things that you need to say, but then they fail, right? There's that fail word again, because you got to fail to get to the success part. But then it's really learning. This is where I believe coaching comes in as well, Collin, right? This is where I've reached out to people like you and others to help me. This takes humility to say, hey, help me figure out these pain points. Help me figure out what the viewer wants. Really help me to dissect that and distill that down, because you've seen that, right, in your coaching and even in your own YouTube journey. And, I'm not the only one, but we want to make videos that we want to make. But if the audience doesn't want to watch those videos, then really we can't expect to ever have any kind of real success on YouTube.
Yeah, well, that's and that's the hard part, because I think a lot of people start YouTube because they want to make certain videos and just have people watch them.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's not the viewers serving you, you're serving the viewers.
That's good.
So you're giving them what they want and making that type of content. Like every single one of the top creators aren't posting a video because it's the video they want to post. They're posting a video because they can see that the audience is interested in that topic or is looking for answers or help in a certain area. And so they're making that content for them. Like when my channel started to grow, it was because I was doing like how-to content where I was just solving problems for people. And then I started noticing a pattern between the problems I was solving. And then eventually it got deeper. Like there's ways you can do deeper research and find, looking at what topics do interest viewers, and there's whole processes for doing like research and things like that.
Yeah.
But like on a fundamental level, like it's really about knowing the viewer and taking those steps to learn how to make content. And yeah, like yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like I said, that was a lot harder. It's still kind of hard for me, right? Because you go, man, I think this would be a really great idea, but it doesn't necessarily maybe address that viewer's pain point or solve a problem the way that you think it would solve a problem. And so you really got to step outside of your shell, so to speak, and really look at what your viewer, what your audience, what their pain points, what problems can you solve for them, as Collin said. And that is a continuous journey, right? That you're just getting better at and better at and better at.
And sometimes you might even choose the right topic, but maybe like your video, it just isn't at a spot where it's, competitive enough to stand up from the rest of the other videos on YouTube. And again, that's going to come back to like being able to develop those skills and, design a thumbnail and being able to have a good enough presence on camera. Like it does stink. Because if you think about like posting 100 bad videos, if you're doing a video a week, like that's almost 2 years of time. So it's like, if I do 2 videos a week, then it cuts it down to a year, or if I do more than that, but now it's, this is taking up more of my time, and you don't want to get into a spot where you're just posting bad videos to get videos out, where you're not actually learning something. Yeah, it's hard. It is a long-term process, and there's ways to like, outsource that. Like maybe you want to take one less hat off and not do video editing. Like you can outsource your video editing so someone else can do it. And you can focus more on some of the other skill sets. Some people automate their entire YouTube channels, and have a whole team to kind of handle the things that they don't want to do.
Yep.
But if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why, like, I think it's like 88% of the videos on YouTube have less than 1,000 views.
Wow.
Like a lot of the content doesn't even get, seen by a lot of people.
Sure.
But, if you put in the time to learn those skills, like YouTube isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like social media isn't going anywhere. If you invest the time into learning these skills now, like whether you go full-time YouTube or you're using it as something alongside your business, like those skills will be valuable and still useful the next years to come.
Yeah, lots of great information. Well, as we get ready to close shop today, man, you've provided some serious value, just inspiring us with your story, giving us just a basic foundation of how to get started with YouTube and what that looks like, and some tips and some things to help us just, get going, just push the record button and get going. I ask everybody that comes on the podcast this: if there was one word you could use to describe Collin, like if I was to interview your peers, even though you're an introvert, right? If I was to go interview some of your circle, or maybe just even you yourself, what was one word that they would use to describe you?
What word would they describe me as?
Yeah. Or even what one word would you describe yourself as? If there was one word that rose to the top, what would you say that one word would be?
I don't know. This sounds like demotivating, but I'd say like failure.
Okay.
But part of that's too is because or maybe I could say scientist.
Okay.
Maybe that'd be the nicer way instead of calling myself a failure. Because throughout the years, I have tried a lot of things and attempted different things. And I'm always looking at different ways to approach things. So I guess that might be the word that might come up.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is exactly that has contributed to your success, because you chose to not let it be a label, but your platform, right? Like you could have adopted it as a label. I'm a failure. Here's Collin failing again. This is what everybody says about me. I might as well just stay here. This is what I'm always going to be. Or you can use it as a platform to go, nope, that doesn't define me. This is a platform to help catapult me, right, towards what I believe is inside of my heart and that I believe that I can achieve. So I think there's a difference, between a label and using it as a platform. But, thank you for sharing that. So here's how I want to wrap up today. How can we get in contact with you? Somebody goes, man, I want to hire this guy, Collin, to coach me. Maybe they have a struggling YouTube channel. Maybe they're down in their parents' basement, right, recording bad videos. How can we get a hold of you so we can invest in our channels to get better? Tell us what's the best way to get in contact with you.
Yeah, you can go to the main website, collinmichael.com.
Okay.
Or visit the YouTube channel as well. Over there are, like, if you are seriously considering YouTube, like, right on the homepage is a main, like, YouTube playlist that's going to cover all the basics, setting up the channel, how you make thumbnails, how to actually make good videos, going into, how the algorithm works and everything like that. So you can start there. And then also, if you go to the main website, there is an email list you can join where I do send out like weekly YouTube tips content and strategies to actually grow your channel. So if you're on both of those, you'll be set.
Yeah, and we'll put those links down in the description and make sure it's easy for them to find that, because you're giving a lot of this stuff away for free. right? There's a lot of content where it's a lot of content that they could just go start there. So there's no excuse. If you say, well, I don't have money right now, well, you have sweat equity and time. So go and put that time into that content and learn. And as Collin said earlier, as you build that up, that first $200, $100, whatever that short-term goal is for you, invest it and get better coaching so you can get better. Collin, as we get ready to close today, anything else that's just kind of stirring in you that go, man, I really just need to share this with the audience today?
I think don't just listen to another podcast without taking action.
It's good.
Like, YouTube has like completely changed my life. And like we are literally at just the tip of the creator economy here.
That's good.
Pretty soon, and this is something I've heard a lot of people talk about and discuss, every single company is going to need a face.
Yeah.
Because like the creator economy is like, has already become $1 billion industry. It's only going uphill from here. It's like one of the fastest growing areas. AI is going to, accelerate that as well. I also think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be freelancers in the creator economy too. So if you've been thinking about it, like, best time to plant a tree was probably 20 years ago. Second best time is right now.
That's good.
So start planting that tree, start building those skills, because you use them.
Yeah, well, thank you again, Collin. I feel like you brought tons of value today. You brought the fire, man, and I know this is going to encourage and inspire some people. And this is why we do this, friends. We do this because I want to inspire you to bet on you, to take that next step and go after that dream and quit letting all the excuses get in the way. Because isn't it about time that you just break through all those excuses and start believing in you and start sharing your message, start doing what you were called to do. Stop just existing and really start living and thriving. And so I want to thank all of you guys for watching. And as we close today, I just want to remind you to go check out this other amazing, inspiring interview right here. God bless.